Is Adam K.
How's it going, Josh?
Good to see you tonight.
Hello, internet world.
It was really exciting when you said that you were going to come and do the show. I know that a lot of people obviously have no idea how in-depth our relationship is, but I think we met back in 2007, and we met in a peculiar way.
We did.
How did we meet?
Oh wow! It was outside. I believe the club was This Is London in Toronto.
It was a Thursday night.
It was a Thursday night at This Is London.
It was not This Is London.
What was
I can't. It was a small spot.
Oh, not This Is London.
Man's Own and Strong. We're
doing
a Thursday night. This place was called.
Oh God.
It definitely wasn't called that. But we did. We met outside of a nightclub. Adam invited me over to his house, and we stayed up all night making techno.
We did.
Yeah, really, really, truly aggressive stuff.
Aggressive.
It
was called The Smash.
The song is called The Smash,
yeah.
and then which is very funny because maybe you are a virtuoso of genres. It's.
Oh, I had no idea. I was literally just following where you were taking me.
Okay.
And that's why it was such a bizarre sounding song. And there's nothing that sounds like it because I didn't know the genres that I was working with, and I was just feeding off your energy, which, is like, it's intense, It's aggressive.
But when people think of Adam K., in your mind, what do you think is the first thing that someone who listens to you and has been listening to you, because you've been making music since?
Oh gosh, like professionally, I'd say like 2001, but I've been writing music since I was like 14 or 15.
You know what? I want to digress for a second. I want to say, how did that all start? How did your musical journey start?
I guess my sister and my brother taught me how to play drums when I was in 6th grade. Before I went into junior high, he said, "You don't want to get stuck playing the flute." Although I kind of wish I kind of did, Cause
looking back now, you want a little bit of flute love.
Yeah,
right?
a little ham and eggs, bacon or whatever. What does Ron Burgundy say?
I don't know, but I mean, I haven't heard your entire catalog. I've heard a lot of it. Not one flute.
Oh, there's some flutes.
There's no flute.
There's some flute.
You're saying there's a flute.
I can definitely produce some flute.
We'll find the flute later, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so he taught me how to play drums, and my sister played guitar and sang. Both of my sisters played guitar, sang songs, and so we always had these like jam nights, Neil Young, The Grateful Dead, and campfires and that kind of stuff. And then I just got into drums and school and met Soha in 7th grade, and we started playing music together.
So the relationship with your collaboration with Soha, it was almost at like the start of you as well.
Literally, yeah.
So both of you guys are coming up like technically together.
We started. I mean, he was a much more advanced musician than I was at that point. Like he could play. I was dicking around, and then he went to a different school, and I took off. I was living in the States for a while, and then we kind of reconnected. 5 or maybe 7 years later.
Hold up for a second. This is what year? This is 2000.
Well, we went from 95 basically. He went to a different school,
and you're in the States, and then you're making music.
No, he went to a different school, and then I went to the States in like 98. And when I came back in like 2001, him and I reconnected, and we started making music again together. But it wasn't progressive house music.
Okay, well, I want to get to that. That's why I digressed for a second when we first started talking about it. But did you have a mentor? Did you have someone that was showing you the ropes? How did you learn about, never mind just melodies, keys, but also synthesis? And like, what was that evolution? Like, how did that come?
It came from struggling. It came from I did have mentors, but that didn't happen until later. I had to kind of get myself to a certain stage first before people, really took an interest in what I was doing.
Okay, so it's 1998. This is clearly not.
I would say it was more like 2001.
So 2001. What is the Adam K rig? What is it?
The Adam K rig was a Roland XP60, which is just a keyboard, just a general keyboard with the pianos and a couple synths and whatever. And I had a JP8080. A Roland JP8080, which is like a Jupiter kind of kind of synth, and I had an MC9 or an MC909, and that was it.
How were you putting it together? How were you editing? Was everything live? Were you literally doing it?
I spent a year not even knowing how to work it all. I just figured out how to get it all synced, and I used to play the demos and just like modify them a little bit, like tweak filters and stuff. It's weird. I started making music on just a computer with Rebirth and Fast Tracker, and I would write all of the music from scratch. And then when I got gear, I didn't know how to use it, which I got in about 99, 2000. And it sat on a shelf for a year. And then I finally took it out. And I had no idea how to use it. I was just playing presets and playing, just monkeying around with one sound on the JP8080, just doing sound design, I guess, for a lot of it, but not even calculated, and I couldn't understand like why everything sounded like trance on the JP8080. It didn't matter what preset or whatever. It always sounded like trance. And I started to realize that might have been a little bit me and not the machine. So I read the manual for it, and in the manual it said for the JP8080, it said, oh, if you want to make a piano sound, this is how you set the synthesizer, and if you want to make a trumpet sound, this is how you set the synthesizer, and a drum sound, you do this. I just followed all that, not even knowing really what a synthesizer was. I didn't know what oscillators really were. I used samples to make music, never synthesizers. So, that was just a crazy couple of years of just sitting with that one synthesizer and just learning all the basic sounds. And then finally, when I understood that, I got a Cubase rig going. I got all the stuff connected to Cubase. I paid somebody to come wire it for me, and then I tried to fix something and totally screwed up everything and got stuck with it unwired and not working for like another 3 or 4 months, and finally got the nerve to get it up and going again. And I got Cubase, and I started putting stuff together. But it was a long uphill battle doing it, I guess. It was a long uphill battle. At that time, there were no YouTube tutorials to watch, and there's all this gear cross talking and things like that, and how do you save your settings, and it's a very different time to make music.
So now take us out of that place. Now that happened, what was the step that advanced you, I guess, into the new gear, new setup, new sound? You were like, okay, I think the trance is actually coming from me. Is trance and progressive, what is the relation between both of those genres?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think most synthesizers, if you pick up a synthesizer and you just play like some block chords, an A minor and a G and whatever, you're going to end up with trance music, because that's just how it works. So it wasn't just me, it was a lack of knowledge on my part, which, yeah. But anyways, the relationship between progressive and trance is not that much of a relationship. It shouldn't be. I guess in the stuff we did, there was a relationship, but real progressive house music, which I don't consider me and Soha's music to be real progressive house at all. It's like, it is trance, basically.
So how is it that the branding of Adam K and Adam K as Soha, the collaboration, was known as progressive, but it was also Eighth Note? Tell me, what are your thoughts? How do you think that came to be? What was it? Do you think it was just that's where the stores pushed you guys to?
It was 100% the stores.
So you don't feel like there was really? Did you ever combat it when that happened?
Well, no, because what happens is the way the stores like to work with artists is the first few songs I released were progressive. They were more proper progressive.
Okay, which songs are these?
I think it was like what was that one? Funk of 40,000 Years and Take My Mind. There were a couple.
This was on Hat Tracks.
Yeah, and I did. What was the one? What was the one with Joel? I did a remix, 1981 or whatever. For me, I thought these were electro tracks. Okay, but when you listen back to them, they really had a progressive edge to them, and that's so Beatport. Things started to chart, pretty high, and Beatport looked at that and they said, okay, well, these songs are progressive, and they stick you in the progressive genre. I've had them fix releases. Dude, I had the #1 techno song on Beatport, I Can Feel. I watched it going up the charts, and it passed Lawler, and it passed Carl Cox and all these guys, and sitting at #1. And the next day, it was sitting in Progressive House. It was not a progressive song. So they categorized the artist as progressive more than the song.
Did that ever did that frustrate you when it
Fuck
happened?
yeah, it frustrated me.
Okay.
The song wasn't a progressive song. It would have done. In fact, what happened is, okay, it was still number one in progressive, but the sales tapered off quicker than we expected them to. And in my opinion, of course, it's going to taper off quicker if it's in the wrong genre. You need it
Right.
to be in the right genre for for the people to hear it.
Right, because
That's how it got there. Was
you're
by
in the
being
lane and it's
got
in the
there
wrong
because
lane.
This was at the beginning of my career as Adam K, like a DJ or whatever, and so nobody knew who I was in either genre really. So you put it in techno, and the techno people are checking the techno chart. So yeah, that pissed me off.
I'm thinking to myself, you're doing all of this music, and you've got somebody else telling you what it is. Did that ever make you want to do like a bit of like a rage against that vibe? Be like, you know what? Like, you guys are doing this. I'm specifically gonna go ahead and add all this saw, make super saw, fucking electro. Let's rock the fucker. And then it still would land in the category. Would you just be like throwing your hands up in the air when you see it and be like,
No, it wasn't that bad because I started to recognize what they were doing and I started to play the game. So I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to stick with this. And then I went through a stage in my life where I was chasing the sounds, chasing the charts, whatever was popular at the time, or I mean, I liked the music genuinely at the time. Now I listen back, I'm like, God, what the fuck was some of that shit,
What do you mean, your own productions, or just the stuff that you were listening to?
Yeah, the sounds of the time, like when Electro House, had its rebirth in 2009, 2008, was it 2008?
I mean,
it was like 2006.
7 to 10 felt very. I mean, here's the conversation. Like, I'll listen to that right now. I got thrown into that category no matter what the fuck I was doing, and I mean, I don't know. To this day, I'll still never understand why it was called Electro House. See, progressive as a name. When I think of progressive as a name, this genre makes sense when I listen to the music. I hear trance as the name. This genre makes sense.
It's closer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But electro house. Wait, what? Like, that's not electro, and it's certainly not house. Be like, fuck it, we'll take both these names, throw them together. Here's your genre. I didn't give it that. I didn't ask people to put me in there either. So it's very interesting to hear you share this story.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I thought to myself, I'm like, where's this gonna go? And when I around 2014, 2015, right up into 2017, especially the stuff that I do with Fowler, when we did Something's Not Quite Right, so experimental, so left field from everything else I've ever done. I wasn't quite sure where it was going to land. I just knew one thing for sure: I wasn't going to be in charge. If we were submitting the information at the bottom of the sheets, and then Beatport would fire back. But in the meantime here, progressive, it seemed to be like it was your thing. I'm looking at your door in the entrance of the studio. You've got it chalked on the door. Do you think that you are a progressive guy? Are you part of that canon? All right, where are you now?
I mean, I'm into just music in general. I do like some progressive. I couldn't listen to any one genre for like all the time, and this is it. Like I couldn't live and breathe one thing for the rest of my life. I love, like you. I like lots of different stuff. So no, I don't find myself. I spend less time making progressive house music than I do making a whole lot of other genres.
If you were to think to yourself, the moment that electronic music really did start to make an impact on you, not just to want to go and make it. For example, what was your first experience going out? What happened? Like, what was the bug bite?
Wow. The first time I went out was like I was 14, and we ended up, I was with some older kids, and we followed one of the shuttle buses to wherever.
What, on a bike or?
No, in a car. My friend, we was with some older kids.
So you're trailing.
Yeah. We trailed the shuttle bus, and we ended up at some party, and they were playing house music, and we went in, and we kind of didn't stay very long.
Was it busy when you were in there?
It was packed in there.
Packed in there.
But I don't really remember very much.
Is this a location downtown Toronto?
It was like, East End, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It was a warehouse. Like, it was like industrial area. But we didn't stay very long, and then one of the kids from my high school took me to a party. Jason Lee. He took me to a delirium party in '95. I was 15 at the docks, and I remember like it was really dark in there, and I couldn't really see what was going on. I couldn't see the people, so I couldn't really vibe out with people personally. But the music, I was sitting in the jungle room. I don't know who I was listening to. Maybe it was Photech. I think it was Photech. Someone playing live, and I was sitting on this like back platform at the back where the windows are and stuff, and I was listening to like raga and tech jungle and all these different bass lines, like with the bass vibrating on the floor under my head. And I'd never heard this kind of music before. To sit here, these like boom, 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 like these bouncing bass lines, it really drilled into me. And I was like, man, I'm like, this is the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'd never ever heard music like this. Like, it was completely foreign to me. And yeah, when I sat there the whole night. I laid down the entire night. And when I got up in the morning, first I looked out the window and there were like waves crashing against the docks, and that was kind of cool. And like, listen, I'm listening to Raga Jungle with MCs all night, so I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, maybe I'm at like a pretty like badass part. Maybe there's some dangerous people here. It sounds like it's like I'm in the jungle, man. Like, the fuck is going on? And when I got up in the morning, I went to take a whiz, and I tripped over someone, and I was like, oh God, like hopefully this person doesn't like assault me or something. And it was.
Did you stop to say sorry?
Yeah, I did. I'm so sorry. And it was a candy kid, and the candy kid, like an original candy kid, and he like gave me a hug. He's like, it's all good, man. Like, he looked like he was having a good time. He looked like he'd been working at his dance moves all night, and I was like, oh wow, I thought I was in like some crazy like dark like crazy party, and it was like some like rainbow gathering almost. Like, with a bunch of really interesting and unique people listening to a kind of music that I'd never heard before. And then I watched the DJ play for a while at that point, and I was like just mesmerized. I was like, man, what the fuck is this? Like, never understood, like never knew anything about it before that.
I think about when you're telling me the story, having this music, when you're saying I never heard this music before, the accessibility has changed dramatically from then to now. How were you accessing the music? You left the party, you had the bug bite, Raga Jungle, must have more. Where did you get it?
Well, you know how we got it.
I know how you got it. I'm not. You want to do that? Should we psychically answer each other's stuff? Yeah. I want to hear you say it.
It was the mixtapes. We traded them, amongst our friends. Although I didn't get into it right then and there.
This is not now what is known, like the mixtape now is something that is all original, unreleased music. Yes?
No. Now
mixtape. Yes. If someone was to say,
there's bootlegs and things like that, but it's touched. Everything's touched.
Okay, so I mean, mixtapes, pre 2000, even up to 2010,
they
perhaps.
were mixed sets, live sets,
recorded variety of different music
and compilations and things.
Okay,
like that.
so you're finding these recorded cassettes, and it's got a bunch of different music on it. The recordings are sketchy, I'm assuming, especially the live ones. And so like this is what you're doing. Is this what you wanted to replicate? Was jungle even something that you touched on when you had?
I've made not that many jungle tracks, but I've definitely made some jungle. But no, it wasn't. But by the way, in '95, yeah, it was mixtapes. But in '96, we were getting it off of like IRC, the download, like what was it? It was before LimeWire. It was like Napster style. They were getting into 97, 98,
Retail stores also started importing stuff from overseas, or stuff from the United States. Was Moonshine that were doing the compilations.
Right.
So, I mean, like,
I was downloading most of my stuff off the internet for free.
All the time?
Pretty much.
Okay.
The minute I learned how to do it, I never looked back.
Ever cause you any problems on the computer? Were you one of those people that all of a sudden got like a bug and like it destroyed your...
Funny, actually, on my birthday, I think it was 1996, maybe, it was the Chernobyl virus. It was like a few days before my birthday. And I got...
What was the song that killed you?
I got the Chernobyl virus, and I lost...
What was the song? Do you still listen to the song today? Do you ever play it and it's like fucking disdain? You're like, this fucking track, and you hit play on it? Do you even remember what the song was that tanked your computer?
No, it wasn't a song that tanked it. I just got the Chernobyl virus. It was everyone got it. It was like spread out through tons of software.
So what happened?
I lost every song that I'd worked on, and instead of waiting to see what they would say, and a bunch of people got it. It was on the news and everything. And instead of waiting to see what I should do, I like decided to take measures into my own hands, and yeah, I lost every song that I'd ever made up until that point.
It sucks.
It does suck.
It does.
It hurts.
Okay.
I cried.
So now the evolution. You're past all that stuff. It's 2007. What the fuck happens?
2007. Well, I think, I got back into doing, I took a long break from doing dance music. I was doing all kinds of different stuff. And in about 2005,
Why?
I need to make money. And I honestly, like, I just made dance music for fun. And I wasn't really very good at it either. I got to be honest. Like, I was better at writing music, but dance music wasn't necessarily about writing music at that point. It was about making things sound good. And I was still fresh with the gear that I had, relatively speaking, and wasn't fluent in. I could write the songs, but I couldn't make it sound very good. But yeah, Soha and I reconnected, and Mark Oliver and I connected. Mark Oliver's a mentor of mine. He was a DJ at the Government, the infamous Government nightclub.
I think the longest running resident in Toronto.
Probably clocked more hours behind the decks than anyone that we know
city,
ever.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, like one of my friends kept saying, I got to introduce you to Mark, and you guys should make music together. And Mark would come over to my parents' house, and he would be like, he'd play me a bunch of records. He'd be like, these are what we kind of, this is what's going on right now. This is what's cool right now. Drums, drums got to sound great, and this and that. And he trained me a little bit. So I did that kind of on the side, and then, I got more into it, and, I just was spending more time doing it and learning more. And, I was able to do it without Mark there. And then Soha was coming by, and Soha wasn't really into dance music, although he gets all genres. But, then I started kind of getting Soha into trying stuff with me, and we were, still learning. And yeah, that's kind of, up to 2006, it was all just a learning process. And then all of a sudden in like 2006, I don't know, a bunch of stuff just fell into line for me. And like,
Hotbox started.
Yeah, we started releasing records, and it was like number one.
Independently.
Because I released on a label before I went independent. And, listen, I never knew what was happening with the money. I couldn't see, what they were doing with the songs. It was like you just I give you the song and then set it and forget it. Like, how do I really know what happened? So I wanted to get a little more involved in it, and thought that I could do it myself. So I applied for a label on Beatport, and Beatport said no. They turned me down
because
I didn't have enough of a catalog. And then it was actually Deadmau5 who messaged his friend Tom Havens at Beatport and said, dude, this guy's a good producer, hook him up. And that's how I got the label. And I uploaded. A couple songs did really poorly, then one song charted like 45 in Tech House or something, and then one song was like 30 something, and then it was like I woke up one morning and I had a number one on Beatport in like 3 days.
Which was
Pushin'. And then another number one, and then number two, and it was just
was Pushin' the first number one?
Pushin' was the first.
Do you know how many number ones you've had on Beatport so far?
No, not even.
See, it was never a thing for you where you kept count. It was not a numbers game for you. Like, you'd look at it, be like, huh, and then just keep going.
I was kind of counting the money more.
Okay.
I was like, hey, we made like $200 today. That's awesome. I was kind of like, this is probably terrible to say, but what really excited me was that I was laying in bed like on a Saturday doing nothing, just laying in bed and like watching money like come into my Beatport, because you could watch it in real time. You hit refresh and it shows you the sales updates.
Wow.
And like, it's like, man, like it's like I have a real job, but I'm not even at work right now. And, I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, then, at that point, a lot of things happened, and, there were a lot of labels came in, and, I think the labels, like the bigger labels, actually saw the independents making a lot of money and went, whoa, what is happening here? We need a piece of this, So,
So 2007 was the start of you actually taking it serious, because you said you took a break from electronic music.
I did.
All right, and then you came back.
2006.
You came back because opportunity, vibe.
I was still experimenting. I was doing whatever like I could get my hands into. It's like Soha would come over and like before that and be like, dude, like there's this like Miles Davis song and like I like this like ninja tune beat and we could maybe like listen to some stuff like that. And dude, we were making like complete like fusion, rare funk, soul, groove, like crazy stuff. So I would make anything with anybody. I didn't care. I was just like, right, you want to make music? Let's go. You know, it's like that was the stage I was at. So yeah, that's how I got back into it. It was just because.
But this is now something that you're like, this is serious. This isn't just okay. I'm having fun. There's a turnaround here. Was that what was that fuel like? You're not looking at the number ones, but certainly you must be feeling something past the financial, like the remuneration of it. You're great feeling, but you're feeling some accolade as well.
You know, yeah, like, you know, obviously you have the success, and it was organic completely. Like I didn't even really have social media or work social media or anything.
2007 is really like it's the start of social media.
It was MySpace.
No, and no one really knew exactly what to do with it except to try and date somebody that you didn't know that was living somewhere far away.
Just to keep things simple. My mom used to call those people GUs, geographically undesirable.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, things were like managers started calling and labels started calling. And, you know, that was like the first thing. And, you know, it really kind of came out of left field and I had no idea how to deal with any of that stuff. You know, it was like way over I still don't know how to deal with, you know, managers and labels and publishers. And
I want to kind of jump into that real quick. How much DJing have you done?
The first DJ set that I ever did was Halloween in Edmonton, and my friend Craig Pettigrew set up the show for me. It was after Pushin' was number one. I'd never DJ'd before at all, ever. So I called my good friend Addy, and I went over to his house. I'm like, dude, you gotta teach me. He's like, okay. He's like, do you have some tracks? I'm like, yeah, I got some tracks. Like, okay, you're going to do it in Ableton because I'm not teaching you how to spin records right now. And so he goes, put the tracks in and start playing. I'm going to sit here and do some work. Start playing. So I like played, I don't know, I had like maybe 12 or 13 songs and I played them. And then I like, you know, stopped and I'm like, maybe it was a little more. Maybe I had like 20 songs. Played them, stopped and asked him, I'm like, so how was it? He just looked at me, he's like, it's terrible. I'm like, okay, so it's not the same thing, is what you're telling me. For some reason, I thought I got this, but I knew that I didn't know what I was doing, but I thought that I could get it. And yeah, I was never terribly a great DJ. In my opinion, I've had some great sets, but just generally as a DJ, like, you know, it's never been my strong suit.
I'm not. Did you feel like you pursued it? Like you really pursued it, or did you feel like you were kind of there and you tried it and you're like, that's not really for me?
I did.
Did you love it when it was working? Did you love it?
I loved it when you used to feed me all my sets.
All right, this isn't about that.
This guy. I think I recall a show at the Bell Center in Montreal. New Year's Day, don't remember what year it was, maybe 2009, 2008, 2009. Let's call it 2009. And I was playing before Tiesto, and it was a big show with lots of people, and you know, Josh is there and he's raving out, and I'm like, I would like play a song, and then I'd look at Josh and be like, should I play next? And he'd be like, play this song. And be like, okay, play it. Crowd would go nuts. And then like, play another song. And Josh, what do I play now? You know? So, and then I remember like, you know, me, like, I'm just trying to forget the fact that like, I don't think I'm the greatest DJ in front of like 10,000 people. And, you know, like trying to, you know, just step out and like, you know, reach a higher plane of, you know, consciousness. And, you know, I get a little anxiety when I think about it. And yeah, in the middle of the set, you came up to me, I'll never forget, and you turned down the monitors, and I was playing Popcorn, mine and Addie's song Popcorn, funny enough. And yeah, I turned down. You said turn down the monitors, and the entire stadium was singing the melody from Popcorn. And I didn't. I had no. I had the monitors cranked so loud I couldn't hear anything that was happening out there. Yeah, that was pretty fun, you know. But that was your set, not mine. I just fronted it. You were like
I wasn't standing
like
up
Chris
there.
Shepard and Sweat, you know. Chris would sit there and like just do his thing.
Was that a real thing?
And Corey?
I'd only heard the stories.
Yeah, Corey would.
Corey was DJ Sweat.
Yeah, Corey was Sweat, and Corey would like mix the record like hiding behind like a crate or something, and then go, okay, Shep, go, mix it in.
So is this the modern equivalent to a DJ band? Would you say that's like a band move? Because now there's two people that are happening. I mean.
Well, I think that any DJ generally, whether it's a single DJ or or a group of people, it's a band no matter what. Like when you look at like, any show, if it's Carl Cox or Tiesto or this, there's a fucking crew of people that are running that. You've got the lighting guy, you've got the sound guys, you've got everybody. Like it's not just one person making that happen, making the music. You know what I mean? It's like maybe the producer's there, maybe you're that side of it. So everything is kind of band-like nowadays. Anyways, it takes many more than one person to kind of get the job done.
If you could have an ideal DJ show, an ideal DJ set, what does it look like? Where is it? How? What is this ideal DJ?
Best DJ set I've ever had in my life?
No, not one you've done.
But I've already had the best DJ set ever, and it was ideal. It was in this room, in this very room. I had like 8 or 9 of my friends. They were going off. Yeah, it was. I was mixing. I was like sitting down. I didn't have to stand. I was like sitting at my desk like I like to. And I was mixing the shit out of like every genre and remixing it on the fly and looping and using a build up from one and something else from another and layering.
Is this recorded? Is this?
Fuck no.
So it was a moment.
Forever in my brain.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
Cool. So, is this something that you think you'd still want to go and do? The right opportunity presented itself. Would you jump on an airplane again? I
wouldn't say no.
Okay.
I mean. I just think it would have to be like, it'd have to be the right thing at the right time. It'd have to be the right music. And, I never felt comfortable in the skin of progressive house. I will say that. Okay. I literally just did that because that's at the time that was a job, man. Is that bad to say? It was a job.
To be honest,
it was a job. We were good at it. So I was like, okay, let's keep doing this. But like personally, like playing, like breakdown after breakdown in progressive house, like the new school progressive house, not like not
Sasha and John did.
Yeah, that's right, which still had a lot of breakdowns, but not like every hands in the air every 5 minutes and every 3 minutes rather. That's hard to play that stuff. It's hard to keep a crowd interested. It was hard to keep me interested. Like there were although I did like trance, but I liked trance that was faster and a little more aggressive and in fact, in my DJ sets, I really didn't even play progressive a lot of the time, and people came to me to see progressive, and that was really weird, right? Like for a lot of people, because even my agent used to say, he's like, dude, like these people are coming to you, they want to hear 4 a.m., they want to hear Raining, they want to hear Need to Feel Loved, and you're playing La Mezcla, Michael Kleiss. What's happening here?
Great fucking track.
Great fucking record.
Great fucking track.
And I just, I would change, I would, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But, then the DJ set wouldn't be smooth, the programming wouldn't be good, because how do you go from one to the other? And it's, yeah. And then mixing progressive house, at least that style of progressive house, is a fucking nightmare. You have a chord progression at the beginning of every song. That's not fun to mix. You know what I mean? It's like mixing techno. That's fun to mix. Mixing tech house. Funky house, anything that's atonal or just dissonant and weird, that's the real fun stuff to mix.
When I see you talking about music, I can see that you do give a shit about it when you're making it. Yeah?
Oh,
this is something that you're truly passionate about.
More so. Yeah.
That's right.
Making music.
Than the DJ thing. Do you think that the producer and the DJ are the same? Do you feel that they're two separate gigs?
They're definitely, like, I think that the producer and the festival DJ, I think, listen, there's always lots of exceptions to the rule, but generally is very similar. The sets are programmed, the music's programmed. It's like, all the the breakdowns and everything's methodical, just like how you arrange a song. And then I think that I think that there's I think that there's in different genres and different parts of music there's a difference. There's a big separation between the producers and the DJs, and the best producers are not the best DJs, and the best DJs are not the best producers. I don't like Derek May's music personally. I don't think he makes spectacular music. Nothing is a classic for me, but fuck man, can that guy play records? Like, that guy's incredible. I watch him, I'm like, dude, this is like watching Michael Jordan play basketball. It's like, he's fluent. But his tracks weren't there. Carl Cox, never really been a crazy fan of his tracks. Love to watch the guy mix. It's very entertaining.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, fucking amazing, There's crossover. You get Richie Hawtin, who's a great everything, as far as, musician and innovator and DJ, and then you get like the festival circuit, and the festival circuit of the commercial stuff, or at least where our EDM progressive genre ended up going to, and like, that stuff, I understand how it works, but there's no, it's not DJing. It's, in my opinion, like, I don't know, when I think of DJing, that to me isn't DJing. Armin will DJ, and Tiesto will DJ, those guys, for on the commercial end, but, when it's like track to breakdown, and then the next one, and everything's separate, and, I guess it's a style of DJing. I guess you could call it that, but for me, that wasn't the part of the art form that I kind of felt.
Is that, yeah? I was about to say, is that because like the history? You're aware of it. You were part of the culture when it was not digital, or even if the music was digital, sure, but the presentation was not, right? It was vinyl, it was analog.
It was still CDs too.
Well, that was after.
Yeah, but even
okay,
that, like that's that never bothered me at all. But yeah, like, I don't even know. To be honest, I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Deep thoughts with Adam K.
Deep thoughts.
So you're spending so much time in this room. How long have you been in this room for? I know the answers, Adam. It's not about me.
Like how many days?
No. How long is this room?
Years?
Yeah.
I built this room in 2011. I think it got done in the summer of 2010.
I'm going somewhere with this. What I'm trying. I guess what I was going to say is the comparison of the time that you've been in this room. You've also gone and you've worked in other studios. Is this something that, like, do you feel like this room is now an extension of you? And then when you step into another room, are you ever uncomfortable, or you always feel at home no matter what room you go into?
Yeah, I can write music anywhere. Dude, I play music so loud anyways. I can't tell the difference between so many different rooms.
Do you feel the effects after all these years?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, what is it?
I can't listen to music. I can't critically listen to music for long periods of time. Like, I could do it for like 15, 16 hours when I was a kid and listen, and still my ears were kind of fresh. But yeah, now I have like 4 good hours in me, And if I ride home from my cottage with the window open, I got like 2 hours, And
are you still constantly listening to new music all the time? Is this part of your routine, you say, in your life? Is listening to music? Do you stick with your favorites? And
I listen to the classics. And do I follow new music? Sometimes if I have to. My job is a producer. That's like what I do for a living. So I listen to what I need to listen to, and I have people around me that are always, crate digging and looking for good stuff. So that's my exposure to new stuff, not because I'm personally digging myself.
Do you find that maybe right now when you are listening to new music, any music really, is it just pleasure? Is it deconstruction? Analytic? Where do you find yourself when you're listening?
When I'm listening to music, for what purpose?
That's what I'm saying. Is the hat switching all the time?
Hat switches.
The hat switches.
Yeah. If I'm like listening to music because somebody wants to like get into some music that sounds like a certain way or something like that, yeah, I'll just skim through stuff and listen analytically and be like, okay, these are the 5 songs, and these are what all the hi-hats sound like, and these are what all the bass lines are doing, and find the commonalities and do analysis. There's definitely music out there now that's new and that moves me 100%. There's more great music now than than ever, as far as I'm concerned. At least, at this for this era, for this stage of the era,
I wanna jump to something that's a little bit more current and see where your head's at with stuff, with everything that's going on in the world right now. The pandemic. How are you doing with it? Do you find that your routine with work is increased? Has your work efforts increased with production? Are you working more at it? Has the pandemic has it been fuel? Has it been an agitator? Has it been something that's it's been a reflective time for you?
It's as like, as a person who likes to socialize, when I do like to socialize, I need it. It's like it fuels me. I can't do that, right? Like the way I used to. So that made it tough a little bit, but I mean, I'm sure any producer will tell you locking themselves up, for
Typically, we're not sitting this far apart.
Typically, we're not sitting. Yeah, we're on top of each other.
We've got different angles. We
He's
got different
bouncing me on
ideas.
his knee. My older brother here. Yeah, no, this doesn't change anything for me, really.
Because you're in the room so often.
That's right. We just have a very tight circle. There's really 3 of us, and our bubble is really small. There's 3 of us, and then my parents, really. And for me, I got to be honest. If it wasn't for my parents, maybe I would be thinking about things a little bit different, and for myself as well. But I might be thinking about things a little bit differently.
You mean like on a health conscious level?
Yeah.
You're saying yourself because
I need to have my parents around in my life, and I think I think who knows what this COVID business is, anyways. But you know what? And it might not be as serious as people think, or it might be more serious. But you know what? Just in case, rather be careful.
You want to be safer rather than sorry.
I want to be safer, and I want to be around my parents. So if I wasn't wanting to be around my parents all the time, maybe I would socialize more with other people. Like maybe I would be out, and I don't know about out, but I might be a little bit more in the scene, but I'm not.
Do you have any thoughts towards what's going on right now? Like a lot of people, for example, are talking about how there's not a lot of support, for example, government support, financial support for venues, artists. A lot of people in our industry right now are super displaced. Is this part of your conversation in day to day? Are you feeling that, the effects of what's going on right now?
Well, as somebody who relies on a lot of my income comes from touring artists, so and yes, they've been hit terribly, and so have agencies and managers and venues.
It's a domino.
It's a domino, and the fact of the matter is that the government subsidies that they were doing in Canada for companies that have problems like small businesses and rent relief and this kind of stuff and that stuff, it wasn't like it didn't make the bank, it didn't make them rich or anything like that, but it helped them a little bit. It's helping them weather things a little bit. But that money for companies that are like completely reliant on, large amounts of people, large gatherings of people, man, I don't know what will help them at this point. I just don't. It's like, it's a really, really, really tough situation. But personally, I think through this whole thing, I think underground parties are going to come back in a big way. I think they already are. They're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
It seems like there's a resurgence. It's funny because the term renegade is getting tossed around, and I think about what the name means. I mean, on a definitive level, it's these parties what are they renegade to? So, but underground might be actually a.
I mean, wasn't that the whole thing about going to underground raves? Was we were like completely just getting away from our parents, listening to music in a crazy culture where we didn't know where we belonged, and we just found ourselves in these crazy buildings with candy ravers next to them and jungle DJs and Rasta MCs and you know, so yeah, like maybe it's just the modern kind of version of that.
What do you think the future is going to be then? Will it be that things kind of go full circle and that the underground entities grow to something that's sizable and then that becomes the new legitimate?
I think that the big legitimate companies that do events, even though they've been hit, they've got money stashed away for a rainy day because they're responsible business owners. And I think that some of those people will weather the storm. Some people will get out of it. And then as far as like the underground parties and them becoming, well, some of them might, because, if you get good at anything, of course you should make money. And then of course you should legitimize it. And, what's that line from one of your favorite movies, Dark Knight? If you're good at something, never do it for free. It's the Joker. Anyways, yeah. So those underground parties really, some of the guys. I mean, it's happened before. You know what I mean? Some of these guys, a lot of the guys that were doing major events now were through underground raves when we were kids, right?
That's right.
So yeah, so that's a natural kind of thing for sure. But with the corporate world also in there, I mean, I think what's happened with a lot of DJs is the really, really big ones, the ones that are like, dinosaurs and have been in the industry forever. I think that they have enough money to weather anything. But then I think the smaller A-list DJs, maybe that don't own a lot of investments in property, I think that they go right to corporate sponsors. I think that's the ticket. Corporate sponsors will feed you until things calm down.
Now that almost everyone is literally on social media 100 times a day, navigating through apps and stuff, do you find that you're connecting with more people that you weren't connecting with before the pandemic hit? Do you find yourself online now and people are reaching out to you? Maybe you didn't speak to so much before stuff, but now every once in a while you're trading back and forth some messages.
Actually, I find that a lot of people fell off for a while, and like people I spoke to more because they were active in the circuit, and a lot of people fell off and they kind of disappeared during the pandemic and maybe did their own thing for a minute and then kind of resurfaced. A bit of both. But let me tell you that, the guys that I work with that are true music heads, they didn't stop for a second. We talk music and we talk shop before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and now, and and it never stops. The people who live and breathe music, they don't stop. They don't stop doing it. They don't stop producing. They don't stop DJing, looking for tracks and edits and remixes and this and that,
Not so much work, but maybe because the fuel of just the lifestyle of where they're at, or
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to flipping into Adam K's Mighty Productions. If you were to pick, and I want you to think to yourself also, not the stuff that smashed successfully on the charts, but sure, if it ends up being that, then that too. If you had to pick 3 tracks, collabs, solo efforts, remixes, whatever it was going to be, 3 tracks that you worked on, that when you were still pressing play on, you're wowed yourself. You're like, yeah, fuck, I did it. Like that was like it worked. What would you say that these 3 tracks would be? The 3 tracks that you think best represent your efforts.
I hate so much of my music. It's such a tough,
That is such. That's bullshit. There's like
I like it when it's happening, but in the aftermath, like looking back at it, that's the problem. The problem is that a lot of techno music, we'll call it, we'll generalize all EDM as techno because it's music made with technology. It's it's a sound of the time. A lot of it is not timeless. My own stuff included. I guess some of the stuff that stands out a little bit further is probably things that have melodies in it, just because the melody's kind of super, a melody is, the money's in the melody. A melody supersedes kind of how bad a song can sound,
So, but hold on for a second though. I mean, like when people talk about something like a classic, let's say for example, Funky Town, Lip Sync. The recording on this song it's not very good.
That had that sound though. There was a 70s.
The song is so great that
80s Funky Town.
I can't remember the year. I wanted 81, 83 maybe. I can't remember exactly.
Yep.
But it's up there. I'm just saying that. I mean, like sometimes there's stuff that you forgive. I could think that there's a lot of artists, for example, that I've played that you've given me a tough time about because you'd hear me auditioning what it was that I'd be like, whatever I was going on tour or a show I was doing somewhere or something, and you'd be like, the fuck is this? This sounds terrible. Don't fucking play this.
Right.
We've had this conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think to myself, I'm forgiving it. I'm forgiving the terrible recording. I'm forgiving the bad production because I know that it's going to make people dance.
Right.
This is Funky Town.
That's a DJ. That's a DJ kind of mentality.
Okay, but Funky Town is a massive track that gets it's a bar mitzvah favorite.
Funky Town is not a bad sounding song.
Well, maybe now it's not after all the remastering.
No, but even at the time, no, that stuff is mixed on big boards and put that stuff. It's expensive, way more expensive than stuff today.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You're defending Funky Town.
I am.
Okay. I'm bringing this up because if I think of something like, for example, I'll say Point Out of a Curve. I'll say 4 a.m. remix. I say if you drop 4 a.m. remix right now at a big or small party and people are in a groove and this track happens, every song is time and place. So I'm not going to say that. But I'm saying
the right time.
So here we are. So 4 a.m. at 4 a.m. Okay, 4 a.m. at 4 a.m. If this happens right now in 2020. This is still going to work. So I understand what you're saying. I'm fucking defending your music for you. I appreciate where you're at. You're an artist and a craftsman. It matters to you what the final effort ends up being, and I feel you for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, like everyone else can't be wrong, can they?
There's a few songs of my own that I can look past the dated sound. And reach more into the melodies.
You can't find 3 fucking songs from me right now?
No, I can.
All right, so I'm fine.
Well, let's think. I mean, you know me pretty well, so let's go Point Out of a Curve.
Are you there too?
I mean, I liked it. As the years go by, I like it a little bit less, but...
Is that because of the production? Is it the writing? Is it the vibe?
Because the writing. The production, like I said, will always sound like the time, okay? But, yeah, the writing, I think I can do better now, you know? But I still, there's a magic in that record for me, and not a lot of people know that record. It went very, very under the radar.
For sure.
I released it on SoundCloud. That was like...
It came out on Hotbox.
It did eventually. I put it up there because like some people asked me to put it up, but that's how we made music back in the day. Do you remember?
I have an idea.
I'd make a song at like, I'd start it at about 9 p.m., finish it by about 8:30 a.m., and it would be on SoundCloud by about 10 a.m., and then we'd be hitting refresh just to see what was happening until about 2 p.m., and then maybe go to sleep. That was kind of how we released music. And then if people liked it, it'd be like, maybe I'll upload it too.
I'm going to jump out of it real quick. Would you ever open up Point Out of a Curve again or another project, for example, just to retool it and make it 2020, 2021? Is that something?
I mean, well, I did it with Twilight and I did it with Need to Feel Love.
Okay, I want to get, let's hold on for a second. I can't, I was trying to, in my brain, trying to program how this interview was going to go, and I don't want to lead with either of those things. You like that? Intentionally, here we are. It's like a spoiler alert to how I'm going to end up closing this interview.
And the funniest thing is that I've been thinking, I'm working on I've got an EP that I'm trying to release. 3 of the songs are done and out and released. I'm trying to find the 4th single for it, and I thought about just redoing Point Out of a Curve the way I would do it like today.
I think it's a dope idea.
But I've tried that and it's worked, and I've tried that and it sounded worse. So there's,
So hold on for a second. So is it Point Out of a Curve, Twilight, and Need to Feel Love? Would you say that these are the 3?
I mean, I think
This is the hottest chair question.
I would say that those are the 3 because those are the ones that I did Twilight. I did Need to Feel Loved, and and next is going to be Point Out of a Curve. So yeah, let's call those the 3. Those for me are the 3 that stand the test of time. There were a lot of other great ideas in the other music, but as far as the complete packages went, like even Twilight, the old version of Twilight, it did not stand the test of time. Okay, like the drums, in my opinion, like the drums didn't sound great. The melodies were cool and unique, but when I re-drummed it and I reimagined it, it like I said, it didn't have that magic, that Need to Feel Loved. When I listen to that record, even today, even the old original mix, which me and Soha did in 3.5 hours, start to finish, there was a magic there. It, for me, it had a sound then, and it has a sound now. Although in the newer version that I did, I cleaned it up a lot. Yeah, Point Out of a Curve, I think it still sounds pretty good. I think that record still sounds pretty good. But something about, when you're talking sounds of the time, Daft Punk, you listen to Daft Punk, and man, their shit just all sounds so good still to this day. That stuff stood the test of time. There's very few artists in dance music where everything holds up, and with Daft Punk everything still holds up, which is kind
Chemical
of cool.
Brothers.
Again, that for me, like, listen, I loved the Chemical Brothers growing up. I was always into break beats and funky breaks and all that kind of stuff. So, that stuff excited me. But yeah, when I listen back to it now, I'm like, yeah, these are cool ideas, but they weren't hits. Around the World, hit. One More Time, hit. Defunk, hit. Like, these are just massive, and they're all like different and records, and they still sound good. The mix downs, the fucking drums on it, the reimagining of the samples, all that shit, man. It still sounds great to this day. Then you get those timeless records like Robert Miles' Children, and like, I don't know if that record ever sounded good, but a catchy piano, So, but as far as like the drums go or anything like that, like I would never like seek to, have drums that sounded like that, or, that kind of stuff. But yeah, with Daft Punk, like if you played kids today a couple Daft Punk songs from the 90s, I guarantee you my niece and nephews would listen to it, and they'd be like, yeah, this is like fucking cool. But if you played them Robert Miles' Children, what the fuck? They're going to listen to it and go like, what the fuck is this shit,
A little bit different though, isn't it?
It is. But I'm saying that these were all classics of the time, but,
I feel like Children wasn't, maybe overseas in Europe. I don't know what Children did over there with Robert Miles. I know it was big.
It was huge.
It definitely,
it's still big.
It had a darling moment for sure here in North America, but predominantly in like warehouses or like a party. I don't know if it did radio here, for example.
Oh, I think so.
I mean, I think back to radio, and like programming was such a big deal. So much so that sometimes it plays with my brain here, because I'll go and like when I first started Utility Room, I would go in and look at the numbers and be like, oh my God, only 300 people watch. Oh my God, this is terrible. And then I'd watch in the archive, would just be like, over the course of the week, I'd be like, holy shit. And then I think to myself how I use archive stuff like Netflix, Amazon, etc. I grab it when the fuck I want. I don't really think about the programming. I don't know. Do you still think about programming? For example, like, the reason why I'm saying is because for radio, Dr. Trant's show, Flipside, Night Flight with James Bass, Chris Shepard doing his show, for example, this stuff would happen at a certain time. If you weren't glued in at that time, it was gone.
I bypassed all that stuff. I had the internet. I had IRC. I had the internet relay chat. I could download anything. We just downloaded like the BBC sets, and
So you were constantly glued into what was happening overseas, and this was your.
Yeah, I don't know if I was like completely glued in. I literally would just download everything. I didn't even know what it was.
And just consume.
I just consume, yeah.
So I asked you earlier about 2007. I said what happened. So I think in my opinion, starting the label, this was its own fuel. You had the label responsibility to try and keep the retailer Beatport interested. So you had to have a form of output that was calculated. Twilight happens. The Need to Feel Love remix happens. You fucking explode. These, in my opinion, if someone was going to go think about something, these were the moments. These were the big moments. This was in between 2007, 2008, I think, no?
No, it was like 2009 and 10.
This is later than that.
Yeah.
So which is good that you're telling me, because these moments that happened, are these your defining moments that you feel that is now the fuel that moves you to what you're doing in this room today? Or are those the types of hits, for example, that you have that now you want to dwarf? Is it something that challenges you? That maybe is it a strong fuel? Is it a
Yeah, like, I don't know. I stopped trying to write hits. I think a lot of producers go through that stage where they're like, I'm going to write a hit today. Imagine.
I mean, if you could turn it on like that, but not everybody's Calvin Harris.
Yeah. More number ones than the Beatles, no?
Oh,
Billboard number ones.
Jesus.
But sometimes I have expectations, and when I expect, I usually get disappointed. And when I think nothing of something, I usually get completely blindsided, and there's like success. So I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know which way the track is going to go, up, down, sideways, so I don't really let that kind of stuff fuel me. I think it depends on the situation. I do music for so many different purposes, and some stuff I'm just fueled by, it's a job, and other things I'm fueled by, for instance, like me and my friend Andy Reid, who you know very well. Yesterday we were making like disco house music all day for like 12 hours, and you know what? I had more fun doing that than like almost anything that I'd done in like the last like couple months before that. So,
Can we hear a couple of new Adam K efforts, stuff that you've been working on? Can you play? All right, let's turn it on. Let's hear some music.
Do that. All right. I keep slipping out of this chair.
Yeah. Well, we're getting all cozy and comfortable. I'm gonna crack a drink because I am a thirsty dude.
I'm thirsty too.
Yeah.
I'll get some tunes going first.
Okay, let's get some fucking music out of it.
Let's get some music. Do a little dancing. Okay, let's see. Kind of music? That's the question. Well, how about some house music?
Sure, let's hear it.
Let's go. Here's a take on God, what was that song? Groove Armada, Super Stylin'.
Love that song.
So we found this reggae vocal, and we kind of like said, like, this kind of has like a Groove Armada kind of vibe to it, but it's different. So we kind of like ripped off the intro from it and then did our own kind of thing. This is a track I did with my good friend Daniel Dubb, aka Little D. I'm Big Kahuna, by the way, and together we're Fat Man Skinny. Sick. There you go.
Sweeter than the water in a coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water in a coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water in a coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water in a coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water when I coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop, lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water when I coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop, lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water when I coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop, lollipop. Because me sweeter than the water when I coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop.
I was just joking around saying that my favorite part of this track is actually just the mix out and the intro, and it's hilarious because if you listen to it, like that could actually be like the whole record. You don't even need, let me see here. I gotta have this as.
Let's keep the vibes going. Select someone else.
Next track.
Yeah, more vibes.
Well, maybe I'll play another Fat Man Skinny tune because
Right, let's hear it up.
we have a good time. Here's like a little bootleggy we did. That's kind of cool. I'd call it a bootleg for all the Canadians out there that are proud of
The boots?
90s Canadian hip hop. Is it 2000? 2000. Yeah, not the Roots. Rascals. Oh, Boots and Cats.
What about the Pleasure Chasers? Can we get that one? All right, let's hear it. All right, this one, Pleasure Chasers.
Is the mic on?
It is for now. No, it's okay. Mine's on. If you all right, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and the click. You are live.
We're live.
You are live.
Yeah. Oops. That's yeah. So this song, "Pleasure Chasers," is well, I did an instrumental when I was in Brazil with my friend Vintage Culture Lucas, and then he sent it to this singer Nambe, who we're both fans of, out of California, And Nambe like took what we did, basically used it as like a sample, and then like produced like an even awesomer song, like just kind of like all around it. And I really like this guy's voice. And Nambe's sick, Nombe. He's really good. You should check him out if you guys ever get the chance. Let's see.
Pleasure chasers, and it's in our nature, hitting every taste bud, down right to our navels, favorite flavor, innocent and fade, while we're still awake, it's raving dancing in a trance, I give it all I got. Nothing's built to last, so I take another shot. Maybe if I crash, burn out on the spot, you can snort my ashes and dance until you drop. I drown out all the noise, but only in my mind. We'll be fine, cause we're all just pleasure chasers, and it's in our nature, hitting every taste bud, down right to our navels, favorite flavor, innocent and fade, while we're still awake, it's raving baby.
You know how they say never to fade out a dance track, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I just did it.
Oh, but you're saying here like this was your move,
Yeah.
but not the recorded move.
That was my move. I faded.
right. This was like the bane of the DJ's existence on vinyl would be the fade out.
The first actual track that I was confident in from like 1999 that I sent out to a few people, a guy in Germany who ran a record label, like he just happened to be in the same IRC channel. It wasn't even a dance music channel or anything. He hit me back. He's like, yo, this track is serious, but don't fade out the intro and the outro. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you don't do that in dance music. And I had no idea. I'd never listened to a club mix. I didn't even know what a club mix was.
Yeah, you have DJs actually chasing it on vinyl, trying to wind the spot to actually find like what would be the beat that would be loud enough to kick it in with. Yeah, fun times. Listen, before we sign off, people want to go and check you out online. What's the destination you want them to find?
Well, whatever your medium is for finding music, if it's YouTube or Spotify or
All your socials are listed as at DJ.
DJ Adam K,
Okay.
except for SoundCloud. But who uses SoundCloud? Do people use SoundCloud?
I think it's like it's got like a pulse. I'm not quite sure. I stopped really nurturing mine a while ago. It's just.
I mean, I got to be honest. I stopped caring about most of my. I don't think I ever really cared about my social medias. Like, never really gave a shit. So stopped nurturing all of it before it even began. But yeah, DJ Adam K, everywhere. If you wanna talk to me, you can send me a message. I check all my messages on Instagram mostly. I'm not on TikTok. That's the only. I mean, I have an account, but I don't.
Never gets used.
And yeah, like I'm uploading music to Spotify and all this stuff. And if you guys are curious about the other music that I write for other people, you can always message me and ask what I'm doing, and I can show you some cuts. And yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this was dope.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody, you are all absolutely fabulous. Love you very much. My name is Jello. Adam K. This has been Utility Room. See you on Saturday night.
Cheers.